Okay, so I finished my 200 pages of A Feast of Crows and I want to talk about it. First, I really like this sentence that was said, and I think it was very powerful. I never wanted to see half the things I've seen, and never seen half the things I have wanted to. I don't think want comes into it. And I think this is a very important moment because of the fact that it's everybody in Game of Thrones, everybody in all of these books is seeing things they don't want to. They're getting betrayed at every corner. Tyrion gets betrayed by Shae. Tyrion gets betrayed by everybody in his family all the time. Sansa gets betrayed every moment. Like, as soon as she leaves the north, she gets betrayed right, left, and center. As Arya gets betrayed, she is with her dancing master, and then she goes and she's betrayed by the Hound. Well, not really the Hound. She wasn't betrayed by the Hound. In all honesty, he's been the one that's honest with her the most. But in Harrenhal, she's betrayed. She's always battling. Ned Stark gets betrayed by Littlefinger, even though he does that whole showboat of, oh, I love Catelyn, so I'm going to take care of you. And then we see Cersei, who feels betrayed by Jaime for not doing everything she asks. We see Tywin get betrayed by Tyrion. So I really feel like that last line, I don't think want comes into it, because if want came into it, everybody would be living completely different lives. So, first thing I really want to talk about after reading A Feast of Crows, the first 200 pages, is Cersei. This is the first book we get a Cersei POV in, and she is manic, basically. In my opinion, she's off the deep end, going through it manic. She feels like she's being betrayed by Pycelle. She feels like everybody is against her. Her uncle at first is like, oh yeah, I'm gonna be hand to the king. Then he comes in and he was like, only if you go back to Castle Rock and have nothing to do with this, and I am not gonna do what you say. So she feels betrayed by that. She also is having the hardest time getting Tommen to act like a king. He's an 8-year-old boy. And so she, at one point, gets really, really angry with him when they're in the Sept praying. And Tommen gets sick from the smell of Tywin's decomposing body and tells him to grow up and that he is not acting like a king, and he's crying. And it's so sad to me because we always talk about how cruel Joffrey is, and we all think maybe that's born of the incest, maybe that's just bad blood. But I think that comes from Cersei, because Cersei has a tendency to not care about anybody else. When the guards that were given the sleeping drought were found, she said, make them sleep permanently, which was unreasonable. Like, you don't know if they were drugged, you don't know what's happened, and yet you're like, kill them, doesn't matter. So to me, Cersei is off the deep end. She's also in the Sept and listening to gets mad at Jaime because Jaime is not doing exactly what she wants. He refuses to be hand of the king, and all she is doing is making out like he is doing this to hurt her feelings, honestly. Then we see her behavior with the mountain. The mountain is laying here dying. He has had a manticore sting, but it's been extra potioned so that it draws out his suffering. And the new maester is like, oh, well, let me have him. And she's like, no, let Sir Ellen Payne just. And he's like, no, 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 please. I want to do experiments on him. She's like, okay, as long as I can have his head descend to Dorne, that's fine. Whatever. Which I thought was just sad, honestly. It was depressing, the fact that that's the thought process she had. And then we see the stark difference between Podrick during this. So in the show, Podrick is with Brienne the entire time, and in the books, Brienne kind of stumbles across him as he's stalking her, and he is sad because Tyrion left him behind. Whereas in the show, Tyrion's like, go with her, do what she says. And well, Jaime does it for Tyrion so that he doesn't get killed, which I think was nice. I like the way the show did that. But overall, the first 200 pages of Feast of Crows were a little hard for me to get into because of the prophet chapter. I did not like reading that. I didn't feel like it added that much to the story, and I very well could change my opinion on that later down the line. But A Feast of Crows, after getting through that chapter, was very good. We see Cersei's inner monologue. We see her hating Olenna. We see her going off the deep end nuts about Tommen being an 8-year-old child crying at his grandfather's funeral, throwing up because he could not stand the smell of his grandfather's decaying body. We see her trying to pressure Jaime into fitting in the mold, and Jaime's against that. We see Sir Kevin being like, I'm not doing this, and him saying, oh, I think Tommen has his mother and his father. So he believes what everybody knows, that Jaime and Cersei have these children together. Robert Baratheon has tons and tons of bastards, but no legitimate children. I am interested to see a Daenerys chapter because I feel like that will be very, very interesting. I also want to see how everybody is going to go forward because Stannis is still a problem. When I started the show and after Robert dies and Stannis wants it, Robert wants it, Renly wants the crown, then you've got Joffrey and you've got Balon Greyjoy, the Battle of the Five Kings. I really did not think that it would last that long. I kind of expected it to be like a 2-season thing and over. Instead, Stannis is going through this, and I love the fact he's in it for the long haul. Like, he's not backing down. But overall, this has been a pretty interesting set of events. It's Jaime is learning more about himself and thinking about Brienne still. Jaime is also learning what he wants out of life, and we're seeing more information about Aerys the Mad King. Aerys had no problem burning people alive. Aerys had no problem really doing anything that made himself feel better. And I found it very interesting the fact that Aerys was kidnapped for 6 months and held hostage. And I did not know that. I thought that was a very interesting tidbit. And so I would be interested to see how much more we learn about the Targaryens in this, as well as seeing Jaime grow as a person, because Jaime started out as this cocky, arrogant person who I really couldn't stand, but now he's lost his hand. He's been thoroughly humbled. And I hope that we see him grow even more, continue to resist Cersei, because Cersei is kind of manic and kind of not making any sense. And I also want to see the whole thing between Tommen and Margaery.